Hello, I'm Mike and welcome to the workshop. And this week I'm going to be doing some work on my old acoustic guitar. Hashtag not a luthier. But roll the credits anyway. So this is my first steel string guitar. I had a few Spanish style guitars before this, and this is actually one that was bought by my aunt in the early to mid 80s, and she gave it to me when I went to college. And because it's that old and I played the hell out of it, it needs a bit of work. Now, I am not a luthier. I am a tinkerer when it comes to these kinds of things. I've done some of the stuff I've done here before, some of it I haven't. This is more of a grab a cup of tea and watch the beardy guy mess up. I have recommended excellent channels down below, my favourites. 100% not sponsored, but if you want to learn about guitars, instrument maintenance, making instruments, I recommend you check out the people I have below. Rosa String Works, Crimson Guitars, and T. Woodford. I've been watching their stuff for years, and that's what gives me the confidence to do something this stupid. So, the first thing, well, not the first thing. The first thing I have to do is make a new guitar rest, because even though I've been planning to do this for years, I've misplaced it. So that will be a very quick montage with video. So I'm going to do that, then I'll bring you down, explain what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. Yeah, let's get to it. Okay, so what you do is put your guitar on a flat surface, measure the height of the neck, measure the width, then cut out that scoop. Sand that scoop so there's no sharp edges anywhere and you don't damage your finish. Then screw on a base to stop it toppling over. Very important. And then, and this is optional, add some protective material. I'm adding this piece of non-slip carpet stuff just to make sure I don't damage the back. So this is before I've done anything to this guitar. I will be putting a new nut, a new saddle, new strings, but I will do one after with these same strings, because the strings change the tone of an instrument completely. So I'll play the same little bit, open 3 and 7, you'll be able to hear the difference. Sore on the fingers. So here we are on the blue mat. Long-time viewers of the channel may recognize this. This is the mat I normally use for sanding fine pieces. This is just a camping mat. This is not a luthier tip, this is a woodworking tip. Get yourself one of these, it costs like 5 or 6 quid. It means you can sand both sides and no scratches. But I want the same here. Going to my list of stuff that information I picked up over the years and shamelessly stolen from the internet. So at the 12th fret, which is here, for good playing action you want about 2 mil. And I can stick a pencil under that. And it's not really grabbing. And the pencil is 6 mil. So that's not good. So what do I need to change here on this guitar and why? Well, as I said, not a luthier, but I've had guitars for 20 years now. What happens to a guitar over time, particularly a steel string, there's a lot of tension in steel strings, is your neck will start out like this. Your strings come up like that and everything's roughly into one plane. But over time, the pressure of the strings causes the neck of your guitar to come up like this. And that then increases the distance between your fretboard here and your string. It makes it much harder to play. So according to my list of things shamelessly taken off the internet and my own experience of what I feel comfortable with, at the 12th fret here we want about 2-ish mil. So here's one I prepared earlier. So these two pieces of shims here at the 12th fret slip in and they're not rubbing. And if I measure those are at 4.5 mil. So this is nearly twice as high as I want it to be. Now I could take some off the back here, this part here, which is known as the saddle, where the strings ride. But as you can see, there's barely any of that poking up, and that's because I've already took as much as I can out of here. So what I need to do is to reset the angle of the neck. So I need to take my neck that's going up like this. Obviously that's a massive exaggeration. Remove it, adjust the joint inside so that it goes straight like that. It's a big job and I've been putting it off for years. We're going to come back in with the warnings. Not a luthier. This is my guitar. If I pick it up, my fault. No one gets hurt. Sit back and enjoy. But before we start, I know how bad it is there, but I need to check a few other things. And again, this is all information shamelessly taken off the internet. So I'll do a voiceover while I'm doing it. And then I'll get on to how I'm going to address taking this off.
So I'm checking 3 key measurements. The first is the relief, which is the bend of the neck. I then measure the distance at the 1st fret and then check along my fretboard to see how straight I am. Now adjust the truss rod to get the relief where I want it, and that'll allow me then to get an accurate measurement of how much I need to remove at the end to get the angle I need.
So another check, you can see if your neck angle is wrong. When you place a straight ruler on it, it should just about come to the top of the bridge. And if I zoom back there and place the ruler, you can see it's almost touching the top. So I need to come up at least that much. That's quite a lot. It's quite a lot. And a movement here equals twice here. So if I need to take 2 mil off, that means I need to drop this by 4, and I don't have 4 mil to take off.
Nothing to it but to do it. So I'll take off the strings and let's get going.
So as a guitar player, when I change my strings, I always change them all at one time. Allows me to wrap them all up like this in a neat little bow, because trust me, these guys will find a way out of whatever you put them into if you don't. So that's not a luthier tip, just I walked and stabbed myself in the foot with a guitar string tip.
As it turns out, it was good that I was changing the saddle and nut anyway, because when I took the strings off, I realised that the saddle was actually broken in half. So I take it out and then I just get a scalpel here and just clean any debris and dirt or anything that's inside of it. You want to make sure when you put in your new saddle that it's sitting fully down and fully flush, so you're transferring all the energy, vibration and as such sound into your top.
So I want to work out how much I need to take off this, and I got this formula from T. Woodford. you want to see the formula, it is sharing with the world. Check out some of his videos. But basically, we need to work out the distance at the bottom of this triangle that we need to remove to get to the angle we want. If you're good at trigonometry, you'll figure that out. So I have all my information that I need for this. So I'm just going to work it out. So my calculations are done, and according to this, the amount that I need to remove is 2.03 millimeters. That's quite a lot. So another tip I picked up from the Woodruff channel for doing this is get feeler gauges that equal your distance and then mark it before you do anything. So the first thing I want to do is get a new sharp scalpel blade. Not a doctor. Any scrub fans out there? Yeah. So the next thing I want to do is, this was lacquered over first, so I want to break the lacquer so when I eventually remove the neck I don't end up chipping the crap out of it. And I'll do that along here as well because the top was lacquered in. And I'm going to take this very carefully. Just about ready to get to the crazy stupid part. And those are two separate sentences. One, I am crazy, and two, this is stupid. So I don't want to scar up my finish if I can when I'm removing this. So I'm going to apply some masking tape either side. And I have these two palette knives. It's actually a scraper that I have sharpened and taken all the sharp edges off from the last time I did this. The only way really to remove the fret extension here is with heat. So this this is the iron that I use for running on iron edging. So that's going to be my heat source. And then in order to deflect that heat, I have this piece of cardboard here. The idea being that the cardboard will heat up and that my guitar top won't. So I'm going to let this get up to heat. I'll turn it all the way to max. Let that heat up. I'm going to put it on here for a few minutes and just start working my way across. So I have that on for about 3 minutes. I've been checking that the fretboard is heating up, but my top isn't. Let's just see if I can. Oh yeah. I'm already getting well in there. Let's try it this side. Okay, it's not going out this side, so I'll just stick this second one under here. See if I can work into this side. As I said, not a luthier, so I'm probably doing this wrong. But from what I've seen, working in from both sides seems to be the key. I'm already up to this fret, so I think this is very well glued. Okay, so I'll replace my little anti-scratch pieces. I'll put heat under that for another couple of minutes and see where we are. Of course, the risk with this, and I nearly did it one of the other times I've done this, is if you prise too hard or use too thick of a scraper, you could take the whole fretboard off, and then that's a completely different job. One which I don't particularly want to do. Yeah, after about 15 minutes or so of very carefully working my way forward, I have that cleaned up and separated all the way up to my body joint. So the next step then is to get ready for steaming. So what we want to do is we want to get into the heel, which I'll show you, or the dovetail, sorry. The dovetail is normally behind the fret after the body joint. So I have a little special tool here that I've ground down to be able to pull that fret. First thing I want to do, I'm going to get my scalpel. Just going to rub down either side of that fret to reduce my breakout. Okay, well, I probably applied a little bit too much pressure to that, but you can see it didn't. The line stopped the breakout going too far. And I'm just going to mark the treble side on this because I'm going to reuse this fret. So you can see there, I know the black mark is the treble side. And I'll put that safe with the rest of the stuff. Because like I said, I want to reuse this fret. So this here is the setup I have for steaming. I have a steam cleaner and a ink refill nozzle. Luckily the o-ring on the steam cleaner fits into this, but if the pressure builds up, this will pop off. So what we need to do then, we need to drill a hole in here and try find the pocket behind the dovetail, start adding steam, and then we'll start trying the neck. See, steam comes out both ends. Right, so I missed.
And this right here, ladies and gentlemen, is when I began to think something isn't right.
Okay, so after an hour, maybe more, of drilling and trying to find the neck pocket, I began to think that something was awry. I ended up putting 4 different holes at different positions, different cants, and I made a bold decision. I decided that I was going to cut the fingerboard off the body joint, because I thought that this mustn't have a tenon, that it must be doweled. So I think I'm right. Like I said several times now, this is my guitar, so I'm going to cut this off, and hopefully I won't find out that that I was wrong. But in all the videos I've watched, I've never seen it that with the truss rod coming across the top that you can't see the pocket, that the pocket is covered. Now maybe that's just the way it is. Maybe I don't know. Like I said, not a luthier. So it's time to put on the big boy pants. Cut this off. So it's sort of lucky that it was so bad. Because now I'll have a bit of play to cut this off. So I'm just putting a piece of tape here to try to protect my face using my finest tooth saw, which is this one here, which is the thinnest blade, and then I will swap over to my flush cream saw. You bet your cute little caboose, this is stressful. Well, after a little bit of gentle persuasion, we have that. You can see there the evidence of the 6, count them, 6 dowels that were in that. So, yeah, now I'm going to steam off.
As the guitar was heavily lacquered after it was assembled, there's quite a large ridge of veneer on the corners, so I'm just scraping that back to make sure that I get the perfect fit and joint and I'm not floating on finish. And then using a curved X-Acto blade as a scraper, I remove all the glue and gunk that's on the surface to make sure our joints are perfect. I'm doing the same here on the body where the neck meets, just removing that ridge to make sure I'm going to sit perfectly on timber and timber. Then I'll flatten out that area, remove any hollows or little variations caused by sawing it, and then we can start adjusting the neck. Now I am aware this is probably not the right way to do it, but I have very good chisel control, so I'm slowly working my way down to my mark, feathering it out to nothing at the very top. I don't take this off in one go, I take it about as little as I can. That means that I don't cut too much off and I end up with as perfect a surface as possible. But keeping the tool razor sharp is very important, because even though this is an inexpensive guitar, this is actually a mahogany neck. So I just keep slowly working and fitting until there's no joint at all there. Using my chisel, my sanders, chisel, I have a little, well I do have a sander, I suppose it's just a little piece of timber with sandpaper glued to it to make sure I have a nice straight line. And after about an hour's work, I have a pretty good fit.
So after about an hour, or a bit more of an eagle, I have everything tight again. And I run this down the fretboard, just touching the bridge, which according to the things I've seen, should be okay. So I'm going to put back the dowels in this. I'm going to use a carpenter's trick for doing it. And, sorry, there's just a little bit of fretboard there. So, I'm going to put this dowel back, and this dowel, and these two. I'm not going to put this one back, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a screw through the heel block into this. This will do two things. One, I don't trust dowels for strength, and I trust them for alignment, and the glue here should hold it. And two, it gives me a little extra clamping force because I don't have to dovetail that I would in a normal setup. There are two at the top here, and I don't know. To be honest with you, I think that they're probably a little bit too close because these are 6 mils. I only have 8 mil dowels in stock. So we'll just see. Now we'll get our nail snips. Just leaving maybe 2 mil. I need to leave enough that I can pull it out. I'm also going to find all those because those will scratch the crap out of my surface. So, just making sure I'm lined up perfectly. Don't get a second chance with this. And my leather faced hammer. Just get a couple of gentle taps. And then bada bing, bada boom. Perfectly marked drill holes. Buy yourself one of these. I just love them. And to start with my screw hole here for my screw. I don't have much to work with here, so I want maybe that much sticking out. There are many ways to mark for depth and all that kind of stuff. I'm old school. I like to use a bit of tape. The swarf can get in, but if you're careful, you should be okay. I like tape because it cleans the dust away. So,
as I'm drilling these, I am constantly checking for squareness in both directions, because I need these dowels to be perfectly drilled, because our joint is perfectly tight and misalignment of the dowels would mess all that up.
So those are just perfect. Alright, so now I want to play the same trick in reverse on the neck. So this away. So I know I drilled my holes this deep, so I'll go up a little bit, mark it there. I know then that's how much I'm coming in here. Okay, I'm just going to thread this in. And those original holes were very deep. I'm surprised I didn't crack out the front. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a guitar. I probably ended up taking a hair more than I needed to. And you cannot see that, but they are perfectly flush. I am absolutely delighted. I could not be happier.
And so, on to gluing. And my happiness lasted for another 10 minutes. So remember how I said that those holes were very deep? Yeah, I accidentally cracked the neck. I was tapping very lightly, but I had to glue it back together.
now I've just sanded a little bit here at the body joint to make it perfect. I'm just putting back in these frets. So now that we're all set up, I'm going to adjust my truss rod again so that everything is nice and straight. Let's get some bite there. Well, that's pretty good. Now you should base it off the board itself, not the frets. But I don't have much fret here, so I'm going to base it off the frets. Sorry, not have to replace the frets because that's something I don't want to do. So as I said verbatim during this video, I'm not a luthier, and I will leave the explanation of how to do all this setup and flattening and such to real luthiers. Like I said, I have links in the description. But basically what I'm doing here is I'm marking all the tops of my frets. I'll then, with a sanding beam, which is just a level that I have some sandpaper on, I will go up and down until I see a shine on every fret. That means that we have a consistent plane across the top. I will then go back over with what's known as a fret dressing file, and I will dress the frets. That means that we're going to take that dome shape that has a flat on it now and make it into a dome again so you can play the strings. So basically that's it then. All I do is I clean everything up, polish it, add a bit of finish, and add the new saddle and the new nut. So let's see what the final result is. So there we have it. I appreciate this. This was a bit of a departure from our normal videos. But it was fun. I hope you enjoyed the experience. So this guy it's singing now. Because the action is now in acceptable ranges. When I play chords, the capo, they're in tune. On the bone saddle, certainly adding a bit of noise to it. Now eventually this guitar will need a full refret. There are a few points where it's a bit low and I get me a little bit of sitaring, but I can play it again, and that's the most important thing. So as always, thank you for staying to the end of the video. Like, share and subscribe, and probably don't try this at home. Actually, get a professional to do it. Okay? Good night to you. This is my first steel string guitar. And you know what to say about your first. Like sex and serial killing, you never forget your first. That joke not getting in. So after much soul searching and quite a lot of language to make a docker blush, I decided I'm going to give up doing this kind of work and I'm going to become a male stripper. I met a man going down to class. Said, boy, would you let me pass? I said, it's my Christy Moore impression for Irish people out there.